Welcome to SKNIS's Week in Review. I am your presenter, Mr. Tion Collins. In this edition, we'll be covering the period of July 23rd to July 29th, 2021. Prime Minister Harris concludes eventful and successful year as chair of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Monetary Council. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, wrapped up an eventful tenure as chair of the Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, highlighted by the sub-region's effort to maintain fiscal stability and safeguard lives in light of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.
1 year ago, I assumed the chairmanship of the Monetary Council during a virtual ceremony made necessary on account of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, our region and our economies were fighting the impacts of the COVID-19 virus. With regret, the COVID-19 pandemic is still with us. As many countries are finding, we must now adjust ourselves to live with COVID-19 for some time to come.
Dr. Harris said while the pandemic prevented them from hosting in-person meetings, it in no way stopped the work of the Monetary Council to deliver strong monetary policies and real financial relief in hard times for the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. New Taiwan Ambassador presents his credentials. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs was pleased to welcome the appointment of His Excellency Mr. Michael Lin, Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan, to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Ambassador Lin presented credentials to the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Mark Brantley, on Friday, the 23rd of July, 2021, at the Ministry's office at Port Zante. Ambassador Lin's diplomatic career spans more than 28 years, transcending several roles including, but not limited to, Desk Officer, North American Affairs, Chancellor, Taipei Republic Office, United Kingdom, Section Chief, European Affairs, Deputy Director General, Department of NGOs, Deputy Counselor, Embassy of the ROC St. Vincent and Grenadines, and in his most recent position, Ministry Ambassador, St. Kitts and Nevis. CFBC's Division of Health Sciences working to prepare registered nurses for future COVID-19 outbreaks. The Division of Health Sciences at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College is currently facilitating a nursing care of the acute patient with COVID-19 with intensive care management training course. Head of the Division of Health Sciences at the CFBC, Dr. Rondalyn Dennis Bradshaw, stated that the department recognized its responsibility and decided to prepare registered nurses for any future wave of the deadly COVID-19 virus. Dr. Dennis Bradshaw also indicated that nurses from both St. Kitts and Nevis will be able to attend the training sessions, which will better equip them in the competencies with the universal precautions from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The course took into consideration the ongoing social distancing requirements and was available both online and in person to all registered nurses.
Training of registered nurses in the clinical management of patients with moderate to severe COVID-19 disease is critical. The 7 weeks training for the course entitled Nursing Care of the Acute Patient with COVID-19 with Intensive Care Management commenced on June 14th and will conclude on the 30th of July 2021. Registered nurses from both St. Kitts and Nevis gain the requisite competencies according to the universal precautions from the WHO and the CDC in areas including systems approach to general nursing care and management core principles in assessing severe acute respiratory infection and criteria for intensive care unit admissions and specific guidelines for the management of sepsis in COVID-19 patients.
Street vending in St. Kitts and Nevis is governed by several key pieces of legislation, says Mr. Austin Farrier. Although street vending is an important economic activity, there are several key pieces of legislation that regulate the operation of street vendors in St. Kitts and Nevis. Mr. Austin Farrier, the chair of the Interministerial Committee for Street Vending, spoke to the Licenses on Businesses and Occupations Act, which is an act to provide for the licensing of businesses and occupations and to provide for the related or incidental matters.
There is the Street and Sidewalks Prohibition Act that deals with actual types of vending on the streets. It also speaks to seeking authorization if you're going to sell certain things on the street. So you have to go to the Ministry of Finance for that. There is the Tourism Authority Licenses of Vendors Act, but that deals with specific areas around the country in which the Tourism Authority governs vendors. And so vending only happens in those areas. They don't happen outside of those areas, and there's a governance structure for those areas. There's the Licenses on Business and Occupations Act that deals with vendors who want to be formalized. You have more protection from the government and a lot more support when you're formalized. And then you deal with it. Then there's the Public Health Act, which is a very, very powerful act. It deals with how vendors handle food. And that is a serious issue where it's not any person can handle food. It's very, very, well, when you look at it, the health department, besides the food handler's permit, there's also a health permit where the health department has to approve the area that you are selling food to make sure that it's actually very clean.
Her Majesty's Prison and the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force officers worked quickly to capture escaped prisoners. 3 prisoners who escaped custody on Saturday, July 24, 2021, were quickly caught by prison and police officers and are back in custody at Her Majesty's Prison. LaShawn Hendrickson, 24 years old, of Ponce Pasture, Jonathan Rollins, 19 years old, of Newtown, and Estevan Lawrence, 26 years old, of St. Peter's, are on remand at Her Majesty's Prison, where they are awaiting trial. Through a joint operation, Hendrickson was captured by police officers in the vicinity of High Street shortly after escaping. Rollins and Lawrence were both captured by prison officers on the grounds of the former Bastille High School. The matter will be investigated by the police and the relevant charges will be laid. Food truck vendors updated on relocation efforts during meeting with Prime Minister Harris. In a meeting convened by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, food truck vendors received a comprehensive update on the work being carried out to have them relocated at a site at North Independence Square Street. The Prime Minister was joined in that meeting by Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Skerritt, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Ron Collins, Chair of the Interministerial Committee on Street Vending, Mr. Austin Farrier, Superintendent in the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Mr. Cormac Henry, and Urban Development Officer, Mr. Ron Boddy.
It is important that you have an opportunity to speak with me and to know that the Office of the Prime Minister is given the fullest possible support to this effort and to getting you back as near normal as we reasonably can, having regard the new environment in which we are living.
St. Kitts and Nevis to welcome its newest trained Cuban professionals. 4 St. Kitts and Nevis citizens have recently graduated from Cuban universities. They are Dr. Crystal Paris Keynes, Dr. Andrew Carlos Liebert, Dr. Renee Thompson, and Dr. Callis Farrell, who are all enthused about serving their communities on their return home. Dr. Andrew Carlos Liebert, who studied at the Faculty of Dentistry, University of Medical Sciences, hails from Nevis, where he completed his secondary education and is the latest member of his family to follow the medical tradition. Dr. Renee R. Thompson, who studied at the University of Medical Sciences, grew up in Sandy Point, where she completed her secondary education and later graduated from the CFBC College. Dr. Crystal E. Paris Keynes, who also studied at the University of Medical Sciences, was born in Nevis, where she completed her secondary education. She went on to work at the Alexandria Hospital as a nursing attendant and enjoyed helping patients and witnessing their full recovery. Dr. Callis Farrell also hails from Nevis, where he completed his education in brilliant fashion, becoming the best science student. He also worked at the Alexandria Hospital as a student medical lab technician, which furnished him with the theoretical and practical skills as an introduction to medical school. Commissioning of Phase 2 traffic lights in Bastille delayed. Plans to operationalize Phase 2 of the traffic lights project in Bastille will be slightly delayed to consider several suggestions proposed by local businesses. Mr. George Gilbert, Director of Works, indicated that the Public Works Department is preparing to undertake a new traffic count in the area. In order to make an accurate assessment of the traffic flow, officials delayed its implementation given the high volume of traffic in the Bird Rock area during the period of limited operation.
The lights should have been commissioned quite a while, but we have some challenge with one of the intersection. That's the Bird Rock intersection. At the Bird Rock intersection, one of the property owners, businessman, they are asking us to review the lighting in the area because they said that it appears if the light will actually prevent them from having the kind of business operation they are accustomed to have.
More than 2,000 applications received for the assistance under Income Support Program. On the Tuesday, July 27th edition of Leadership Matters, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, revealed that some 2,209 applications were received by the Ministry of Finance for relief support through the government's Income Support Program. Under this initiative, persons who remained unemployed since March 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic will be provided with $1,000 per month for 3 months. This was introduced by Prime Minister earlier this month, along with a slate of other measures as a part of his government's second stimulus package designed to bring much-needed relief to persons still affected by the pandemic.
The second stimulus package is being rolled out nicely. As of yesterday, 2,209 applications for income support have been received by the Ministry of Finance and are now being processed. By Friday, we will begin to disburse the first 1,000 income support.
UK High Commissioner to PM Harris, United Kingdom is a friend of St. Kitts and Nevis. The new British High Commissioner to St. Kitts and Nevis, resident in Barbados, His Excellency Scott Forreston, would, on Wednesday, July 28, reaffirm the friendship and historic ties between the Federation and the United Kingdom as he presented his credentials to the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, during a virtual meeting. Among the substantive matters discussed were issues of climate change, rebuilding in the face of COVID-19, renewable energy development, partnerships with the United Kingdom, prison reform, and trade. Prime Minister Harris, in accepting the credentials, indicated that there has long been a special relationship between both countries. The Prime Minister also stated that there is a need for further consolidation of this special relationship in ways that will bring tangible benefits for St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's it for this edition of SKNIS's Week in Review. I am your presenter again, Mr. Tion Coggins.